I love making inlay earrings and inlay bracelets. So in order to do that, I need to make this cane really tiny. Of course, this cane has already been made. I've already made 4 of them, already reduced them. So this video is only about how to reduce this long rectangular shape. So here I've got a really small one. Normally I would start with them much longer to begin with. I'm only going to be able to get 2 pairs of earrings out of this. But I just wanted to show you how to reduce this long, thin shape. I don't take time in my videos really to show you all of the reducing process because it takes a long time. But I did want to show you. So, important points here, let's see. Keep those lines parallel. That's how you're going to know. It's a little more difficult if you're working with a solid color. But if those lines are parallel, then you know the inside pattern is staying intact. You can always look at the edges and at the ends and see if the pattern still looks good. And you can focus on any given one. If one is obviously too big, you kind of pull that one out a little bit so that everything stays the same. I'm starting to think of it now more as a sheet or a ribbon, even than a cane. I like to keep flattening it out, make sure everything's nice and smooth. There's a lot of opportunity to really narrow in on any particular part that needs to be fixed and evened up. Just like normal canes, the ends still get messy. I'm starting to pull them apart, twist them. I guess I'm just hoping that by seeing this whole process, you'll start to see how I might do that. It's important to learn to reduce any kind of shape. Still working on those parallel lines. Now here I'm trying to guess how many I can fit in that earring. It's so much easier to put them together now than trying to put the seams together later. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply this one again. I'm guessing 3 will do it, so we'll try 3. Of course, it's always a little tricky there where the ends come together because that particular pattern might have been squished. I think that will be long enough. But so there will be, you probably will notice a slight variation where those seams were put together. So the sooner, you could have started this way. It's big and unwieldy, but if you wanted to start with all 12 in a line, making a sheet, that would work too. And look, see, I can even further reduce this into one cane. I don't have a lot to work with. I specifically chose a small amount to show you that it's possible. But that whole thing could be a really long strip and would probably make it easier. And now, of course, I will lose some of the ends. These I didn't measure very carefully. So I'm not going to force them to be all the same length because they weren't. But I have to make sure that the most important thing is that the pattern inside is going to be the same. I could put them in the earring in sections. Again, I just like it better this way. It's a lot simpler. Focusing on just like regular ends, I was kind of focused on trying to pull out that one so it's as even as possible. That one was a little bit too big, so I pulled it out and cut off the end. The rest of it looks pretty good. I'm going to use that end that I'm not going to use. I'm just putting it on there to see how much stretching I'm going to need to do. So this is optional, but I purposely made that smaller than it needs to be because stretching seems to be a really nice way of getting it to fit in the earring. It's difficult to put to set in the inlay. There's two ways to do it. You can either cut it perfectly, stretch it and get it to nestle in there, or you can just cut off a big old chunk and shave it off later, which I'll show you. So this one's important. I pinched the back side so that it'll fit in there and the front side will splay out. Here we go. Because pressing it in there is tricky to get the sides nicely tucked in, because if you're just forcing it in there, the sides get all messed up. So when you tug at it like this and stretch it as you're putting it in, it sets nicely. This takes a lot of practice. This really wasn't the point of the video, it was more about reducing it, but I just wanted to show you this part. To get this right, you will need to practice a few times with the size, the thickness. It can really drive you crazy. But see, now I'm tucking in those sides as carefully as possible. Really just make them flush with the earring. Again, if it's way too fat, you can shave it off later. But even if you shave it off, you want to make sure that the pattern that's revealed is set as evenly and snugly as possible. So I took some time, really smooth out those edges. See how it's poking out there? And I can just set it into the earring. This works with bracelets too. I made this to show earrings or bracelets. Now it is true that later I'm going to have to pop it out and glue it back in. The bracelets you don't have to pop out if they hold in there well, but I noticed these earrings, if they pop out, you can just glue them back in, like Gorilla Glue Gel or Loctite. And here's where you shave off parts that are too thick, or if they got smudged. This part's really tricky also, be careful. You could do the whole earring that way, but I would recommend that you be willing to practice with that.